The stars bowed to her will. Galaxies bent to her authority. Queen Saravina of Vaeltar ruled not just a planet, but a civilization that spanned across 7 systems. Her voice could silence armies. Her gaze could make entire fleets yield. But nothing, had prepared her for the way one human would make her forget who she was. It began during the Festival of Unity, a political charade masked in celebration. Vaeltar had extended invitations to various species for a show of interstellar peace. But in truth, Saravina sought leverage, alliances she could manipulate. Among the diplomats, merchants, and entertainers arrived a delegation from Earth. The humans were relatively new to galactic politics, underestimated by most, including her. He wasn't the lead envoy. He wasn't even in uniform. Just an attaché. A civilian advisor, they said. His name was Commander Elias Rain, retired. Tall, quiet, and unbothered by the glittering elites. While others fawned, he stood silently watching. Observing. As if trying to understand the room without ever needing to own it. When he first caught her eye, Saravina had laughed inwardly. Another outsider. Another man who would surely crumble under her scrutiny. But then he smiled. Not out of awe, not out of politeness. Just a small, crooked grin that spoke of secrets and storms weathered. It disarmed her. At the banquet, she made her move. "You're awfully quiet for someone invited to dine in the Hall of Stars," she said, sipping from a chalice forged from neutron steel. Elias didn't flinch. Beautiful halls tend to echo. "I prefer to listen before I speak." She tilted her head. Bold. Arrogant. Different. Over the next few days, he kept to himself, but their paths kept crossing, too often to be coincidence. On the crystal gardens, on the high balconies of the stellar court, in the war room during peace negotiations. It was as if fate had pinned their gravity together. She discovered he wasn't just some earthborn strategist. He had served in the Orion conflicts, had been the mind behind the ceasefire of Centauri, had refused offers from the Galactic Council because he said politics left too many bodies behind. He wasn't climbing power, he had walked away from it. That fascinated her. They talked more. Sometimes minutes, sometimes hours. About culture, about history, about her burdens as a queen and his losses as a soldier. And somewhere in those late conversations beneath binary moons, her walls began to crack. One night, he found her on the observation deck alone. Stars drifted by like glowing embers. "Do you miss Earth?" she asked softly. Elias leaned on the rail beside her. "Sometimes. But some things are more beautiful when you're not chasing them." She looked at him. "And what are you chasing, Commander Rain?" He paused, and his answer was barely above a whisper. "Truth. Peace. Maybe. Someone who sees more than just a crown." Her breath hitched. Later that week, rumors began to swirl. A queen distracted. Meetings delayed. Decisions softened. Her advisors warned her. Her military council questioned his influence. But she didn't care. In her private chamber, she asked him, "Do you know what it means when a queen is no longer feared?" Elias stepped closer. "Maybe it means she's finally free." Their lips met, fire and gravity in collision. But passion in politics is never simple. The High Tribunal demanded answers. An Earth envoy sleeping in the Vaeltar Palace? They called it treason. A breach of protocol. A scandal. Her throne was suddenly at stake. Her people divided. Her name whispered in betrayal. Still, she refused to send him away. "You should let me go," Elias said, standing at the gate of the Celestial Core, guarded by 20 sentinels. "And if I don't," she whispered, "they will break you." Her voice trembled. "Then let them try." That night, the stars did not shine above Vaeltar. And Saravina, queen warrior, goddess to some, stood stripped of power but held something more dangerous in her heart, love. But just as her resolve solidified, a betrayal ignited from within. A shadow moved through the court. A voice she once trusted whispered to the tribunal. Elias was not who he claimed to be. Her world was about to burn. The accusation came like a thunderclap. The tribunal's voice rang through the grand hall. Elias Rain is not merely a civilian advisor. He was once embedded in covert Earth operations within restricted systems. He disappeared from official records for nearly 2 years. "Tell us, Queen Saravina, was it love or espionage?" Her breath froze in her throat. Elias stood calmly in the chamber. His eyes never left hers. She stepped forward, her long robe brushing the obsidian tiles. "You think I'd fall prey to manipulation? You think he deceived me?" Her voice wavered, not with fear but fury. Yet deep inside, doubt crawled. She confronted Elias in her private sanctum. Tell me it's a lie. Tell me they're reaching for shadows that don't exist. Elias didn't answer immediately. He took off the pendant he always wore, pressed it into her hand. Inside was a data shard. Everything you want to know is in there. Her fingers trembled. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't come here for politics, he said. I came because I thought I was done with war. But I stayed because of you. The truth was damning but incomplete. Elias had once served in an off-the-books Earth recon unit. He had seen too much, done too much. That's why he walked away. His presence in Veiltar wasn't espionage, it was escape. But now, everything he had hoped to protect, Saravina, her fragile trust, their growing love, was unraveling. The tribunal demanded he be detained until further investigation. Saravina faced a choice: defend him and risk her throne, her legacy, her people's trust, or let him be taken and return to the lonely strength of sovereignty. She chose neither. That night, she launched a ship into the void. On board was Elias. It wasn't an escape, it was exile. A forced protection. She did it with tears in her eyes and steel in her voice. You said some things are more beautiful when you stop chasing them, she whispered over comms. Maybe love needs distance to survive. He responded only once. I will never stop chasing you. Weeks passed. The tribunal closed its inquiry, her throne secured, but her chambers felt like a prison. One morning, her top advisor entered in haste. There's a signal. From the outer rifts. A human vessel, bearing his identification. She rushed to the communications chamber. Static filled the air. Then his voice cracked, half-broken. Saravina, they found me. Not your people. Not mine. Something worse. They were watching our worlds. Waiting. And now they know our weakness. The signal cut. A new threat loomed. One that made politics look like a child's game. Saravina's hands clenched into fists. They had taken him. And if they knew about her, about what she'd risked, then her empire was next. She summoned the War Council. Mobilized deep space probes. Sent elite squads to the rifts. But even as she wore the mask of a leader, her heart was breaking. Every night, she replayed his voice in her head, wondering if she'd made the right choice. If protecting him had only made him vulnerable. One night, standing alone beneath the cascade of Veiltar's aurora fields, she whispered to the stars, If you're still alive, hold on. I'm coming. A week later, her agents returned with fragments, pieces of a ship scorched, and a beacon still blinking. No body. No answers. Just a cryptic symbol engraved on the wreckage. A spiral with 6 broken lines. One of her oldest generals paled when he saw it. That's not a pirate sigil. It's precursor script. Saravina felt a chill deeper than fear. The precursors, the long-dead architects of ancient technologies, were just myths. Or so they thought. Now it wasn't just about Elias. It was about survival. She ordered a secret mission, off-books, silent and dangerous. Its objective: find the origin of the spiral. And if he was still alive, bring Elias Rain home. Her final command before the mission launched was simple. Burn the stars if you must, but bring him back to me. The search lasted 7 months. Entire systems were scouted. Every anomaly in deep space was analyzed. Hundreds of operatives combed the darkest corners of the outer rifts. And then silence broke. A message arrived, encoded in a forgotten precursor dialect, one only Saravina could translate. It was short, fragmented, but unmistakably his voice. Alive. Imprisoned. Not human. Not machine. They see our love as a threat. But I remember you. I remember everything. It took every ounce of restraint for Saravina not to board a warship herself. But this wasn't a battle of brute force. It was one of precision, of belief. Her best team, led by Commander Yelix, a loyal, battle-scarred veteran, set out on a path drawn in stardust and myth. What they found wasn't a facility. It wasn't even a structure. It was a living relic, a bioship, thousands of years old, drifting in folded space. A precursor creation, part memory vault, part prison. Inside, they found Elias, suspended in a light that bent time. He hadn't aged. He opened his eyes as they pulled him from the cocoon. Did she send you? Yelix smiled. She never stopped. The journey back was long, but when Elias stepped onto Veiltar again, he didn't find the queen he'd left behind. He found a woman, stronger, softer, no longer hiding behind titles. She met him in the Gardens of Truth, the place where they'd first spoken without pretense. The stars above seemed quieter, as if waiting. He knelt, not in reverence but exhaustion. I came back, because of what you said, he murmured. That love needs distance. But I never stopped needing you. Saravina cupped his face, her voice breaking. Then stay. Not as a symbol. Not as a scandal. Just stay as the man I nearly lost. They kissed, not like lovers reunited, but like souls re-anchored. The galaxy did not fall. Her rule continued, steadier than before. Not because of dominance, but because of clarity. The tribunal never questioned her again. And Elias, though never wearing a title, became a quiet advisor. A bridge between worlds. A reminder of what love can survive. Years later, in a message broadcast to both humans and Vaeltar citizens, Queen Saravina spoke not as a monarch, but as a woman who had lived through love, betrayal, war, and peace. In a galaxy driven by power, we forget the strength of gentleness. In a world of stars, we ignore the light in one another's eyes. Let us lead not just with weapons, but with heart. Let us remember that love, true love, is not a weakness. It is the only force that cannot be conquered. And with those words, she turned off the broadcast, walked back to the garden, and took Elias's hand. Moral of the story asterisk. Power may rule planets, but only love can unite them. Even across galaxies, through betrayal, silence, and war, what's real will endure. Because the heart always remembers its home.